Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Pink Cloud Frequency. I am your host, Brianna Wynn. Today, I want to talk about one of the biggest lies alcohol sells to moms, and that is that we need relief from our own lives. We have been conditioned to believe that our lives are something we need to escape from. But what if the problem isn't that our lives are too much or that they do require escape? In this episode, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this idea that we need relief from our lives. And we're also going to discuss the difference between being exhausted and being depleted and how alcohol makes us confuse the two. And it's actually that confusion that leads to feeling like we need relief in the first place. I was inspired to write this episode after a very long weekend with my family. And it brought me to the realization that a weekend like this would compel me to feel the need to drink in the first place. And so many moms, I'm sure, can relate to this because you've had a long weekend. You have probably been to and from celebrations, activities, sports. You've cooked meals. You've diffused antics. You've shown up for family. And what happens is you look forward to a drink at the end of your day. You always have that thought that you can't wait for the day to start coming to a close so that you can have your beverage. And I completely understand this because I used to feel the same way. But after this particular weekend, and of course, now that I no longer drink, I started asking myself, what was I looking for relief from in the first place? My son had a hockey tournament this weekend. And if your child plays hockey or you know anyone that does, you know that hockey tournaments are full of games. They're really busy. I had the day off on Friday, so I woke up at 5:30 a.m. and we drove to the rink for an 8 a.m. game, and it was about 40 minutes away, and we ended up driving to the wrong rink, and we then had to drive 40 minutes in the opposite direction to the correct one. Now, on top of that, my aunt came into town on Friday. There were two more games on Saturday, three games on Sunday. We'd been out to eat, shopping, doing all the things. So by the time that sixth and final game came on Sunday, I was exhausted. And I remember thinking, this is the point I would tell myself that I need a drink. This is the point where all of that busyness comes to a head. And it's where I would have been mentally had I not actually quit. Because it's that point where you tell yourself, what a long weekend you've had. After all the drives back and forth and the dinners out, the activities, the planning, the scheduling, and the coordinating, the early mornings and the late nights. You tell yourself that you need relief after all of it because you did so much, right? Because family time is so taxing because it takes you out of your routine, because you feel like you've earned it, and because you feel like you need to relax. It's all of those justifications that we give ourselves when we're going to drink alcohol. And that's what makes alcohol so sneaky in the first place, because it's not sold to you as, hey, drink me, you're a mom, let's get drunk. No, it's sold to you as, come here, you've done enough today. You've earned this. You need to unwind. You deserve a break. That's one of the biggest lies alcohol sells to moms is that you need relief from experiencing your own life. But what are you actually looking forward to in the drink that you don't already have? Honestly, think about that for a second. What do you believe alcohol is going to provide to you in those moments? And I'm asking myself the same question here about my past. What did I think alcohol was going to give me that I didn't already have? Was it the connection? Because I had that. I was connecting with my son and my family. Was it fun? I was having fun. Watching games is fun, watching competition, going into the city, getting out of my routine, trying new places, new foods, laughing and people watching. That's fun. Was it something to look forward to? Because I'd already had an entire weekend full of things to look forward to and things to anticipate. Was it the reward? Because the weekend itself was the reward. Being fully present to watch my son play his games and do something he loves and talk about those highlights afterward. Being fully present for conversations. Being able to fully taste flavors of food while eating out. Being fully present to enjoy those ordinary moments with my family. Our lives are the reward. But alcohol convinces you that you need to escape after all of that. That your life is so exhausting and so taxing that you need something else to make you feel better. That there is a reward in the drink that you haven't yet experienced in any of those moments. And we fall for it. I fell for that for over 20 years because we just think that this is what being a mom is all about. This is what adulthood is supposed to feel like. And then what happens after we fall for it? We get that fleeting little rush, the drink that calms us down after all the chaos, let's say. But then what really happens? You don't sleep well. So now when you wake up early, you're overly tired. You might feel a little sick. You might have a headache or feel sluggish. You're forgetful. So you leave something important when you are rushing out the door. So now you're annoyed. The traffic feels overwhelming and the construction and the other drivers on the road, they annoy you. You can't concentrate. You are thinking things in your mind, but you can't verbalize them as easily. So the conversations become difficult to maintain. The food you eat is only soaking up the alcohol you drank. So it's only replenishing you at best, and you still don't feel energized. You're anxious and you feel on edge as if you're unprepared for what might come next. Everything you were doing starts to feel like it's taking more out of you than it actually is. And that is how being depleted feels. Like every single thing you do and every single thing you say feels strained. Nothing comes easy because it requires more from you to simply remain present throughout your interactions. And that's what alcohol does. It pushes you from exhaustion into a state of depletion. And now, what would have otherwise been a fun and exciting weekend with your family, it starts to feel like an experience you do want to escape from. And that's the whole cycle. You're using alcohol for relief when it's actually the alcohol that's causing you to feel like you need to escape in the first place. You're looking to be relieved from your life and your obligations and your family time and your exhaustion. But alcohol is what makes those moments feel so taxing because you aren't experiencing them with your full physical or emotional capacity. And it's fascinating because I never could fully comprehend this while I was still drinking. I went through the motions and just assumed that being a busy mom was supposed to feel exhausting. I assumed being a busy mom was supposed to feel like I was depleted. I assumed that a hockey tournament and a weekend with my family would leave me with nothing. So I needed something to take that edge off. But now I can see that I wasn't just exhausted, I was depleted. And it was alcohol that was contributing to that depletion. The things that should have been manageable in my life required so much more from me. And I was using the alcohol to recover from what began to feel unmanageable. But when you remove alcohol, you realize that exhaustion isn't the same thing as depletion. You can be tired and still have more to give. And that was how I felt this weekend. I was still me. I still had the ability to wake up at 5:30 a.m., to be clear-headed, to be mentally energized even though I was still physically tired. I still had that mental and emotional capacity to be present for every interaction, to watch my son, and the meals that I ate were nourishing to my body. So they helped me feel better. Everyday occurrences like traffic were just part of driving. And even driving 40 minutes to the wrong rink wasn't a huge deal because I now have the ability to go with the flow. So there's nothing that's going to send me into a feeling of complete overwhelm. Therefore, I don't have to count down until I can escape my life again and escape motherhood. Being tired is normal, but exhaustion isn't a permission slip for escape. And more importantly, alcohol isn't going to resolve that exhaustion. So, what's the point of drinking? The reality is you probably just need a nap. You might need a quiet evening once your family leaves town. You might need a moment to sit on your couch instead of sitting behind the wheel of your car. Maybe you need someone else to cook dinner, or maybe you order takeout because you're just tired of going into restaurants. Maybe you need a little bit of space. But alcohol will tell you that it's the solution and that it's the reward. And I want you to think about your own life here, not whether you're an alcoholic, not whether or not you drink too much, not whether you need to quit. Just think about what you're actually looking for relief from. Is it simply because you had a chaotic Saturday? Your kids were fighting? Maybe you had a hockey tournament or a soccer tournament or a cheer competition? You may have spent 5 hours in the car. Maybe you went to the grocery store and you forgot the most important item on your list. Maybe you deep cleaned your house. Maybe you are tired from dealing with everyone else's emotions all day. That can all be true. But what do you need relief from? Do you need relief? Or do you just need rest? Do you need to escape those experiences, or are you just simply tired from experiencing them? Do you need alcohol, or do you need someone else to come in and help take something off your plate? Because those are very different things. Your life shouldn't be something that you need to recover from. And this is one of the biggest mindset shifts that happened for me when I stopped drinking, and it'll happen for you when you do too. Because you stop looking at ordinary life as something you need to escape from or something you need to get through just so that you can get to that drink on the other side. And when you stop looking forward to that or thinking about it all the time, it frees up the mental space for you to actually experience your life in the moment while it's happening, even the exhausting parts, even the inconveniences, even the early mornings and the late nights and long days, even the moments where you're completely wiped out, because that's just life. Sometimes that happens, but you're able to be tired and still be okay at the same time. But alcohol wants you to believe that it's one or the other, that exhaustion is some form of disease that must be cured with alcohol. But throughout any given day, not only are you a person, a woman, a mother, but you're also probably a worker, maybe a business owner, you're a coordinator, a receptionist, an appointment scheduler, you're a chef, you're a taxi driver. Don't you realize that you are allowed to feel tired? You're allowed to want quiet time. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to order takeout food for your family. You're allowed to go to bed as early as you want to go to bed. You're allowed to sit down. But you don't have to wait until you've done enough to feel like you deserve something. You don't have to earn your rest through alcohol. And you don't have to turn your exhaustion into an excuse to numb yourself. You're allowed to have a weekend that completely wipes you out without thinking that alcohol is some sort of cure for that, or that you're not supposed to feel that way. Because the goal isn't to create a life where you never feel exhausted. That's obviously impossible. But the goal is to create a life where exhaustion doesn't automatically mean that you need to escape. The goal is for you to remain present for the moments that make up your life. You're tired because you're actually living your life. Exhaustion should be a form of gratitude. You're grateful that you're able to be present physically and mentally to experience those moments with your children and your family. Moments that are never going to come again once they're gone. Those moments are your life, and your life is the reward, not alcohol. So, for your reflection, ask yourself, where in life have you been confusing exhaustion with needing an escape? So, thank you so much for listening today. Please leave a 5-star rating wherever you are listening. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with another mom who may need to hear it. I will talk to you all next Wednesday.